A gracious good day to one and all once again. 'Tis I, Norton the First, by grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico, joined by our special guest superstar, the Countess, Lola Montez of Lansfeld. Good day, Countess.
Good day, Your Majesty, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you as well.
Yes.
Now, you may notice this is a little bit different for the Wednesday show. Normally, we are here in Studio B only on Saturdays, and then we normally do the Wednesday broadcast down in Studio A. But it's a very special day. Why, you may ask? It's the Emperor Norton and Lola Montez Fantastic Holiday Spectacular. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this is episode number 175 of the ongoing vlog. Today is December 23rd. We'll be covering the 23rd to the 29th. It is our 282nd day living under COVID-19 restrictions with no end in sight. Now, you know, Countess, there are many holidays celebrated this time of the year. Today being the 23rd, of course, is Festivus, but where's the aluminum pole? Well, we'll get to the airing of grievances and feats of strength later on, but there are many, many holidays celebrated this time of year.
There are. Thank you for joining us. You know what happened to that man that stole the Advent calendar?
What's that?
He got 25 days.
Okay.
You know, it's harder to buy those Advent calendars, you know.
Why is that?
Their days are numbered.
As I was saying, of course, we did acknowledge that this is Festivus. Also, Advent happens this time of the year. But in Buddhism, it's a Bodhi Day, December 8th. And in Christianity, in addition to Advent, we have St. Barbara's Day, Krampus Nacht. Watch out for Krampus. Moving on to Hinduism, Pancha Ganapati. And also we have Mon Rand in It, which is Mother's Day.
Oh.
Saturnalia, ancient Roman winter solstice festival. Of course, the winter solstice. Humanism, moving on. We have a Human Light Day, that's today. That is originated in New Jersey, a celebration of humanist vision of a good future.
Oh, interesting.
And of course, we just finished Hanukkah.
Oh, yes.
For those of you of the Jewish persuasion, which we are. Not you, though, right?
Well, I like a good party.
Indeed, and the latkes.
And I've been known to throw a few latkes.
The latkes were wonderful this year. Paganism, Yule, and Kolyada, a Slavic winter festival. The Persians are celebrating Yalda. We also had World AIDS Day, Boxing Day coming up for those of us who are British. Newtonmas, which is done by atheists and skeptics.
Oh.
Kwanzaa. Omisoka, which is the Japanese tradition of the last day of the year.
Oh.
We mentioned the solstice. Salgira, which is celebrated by Muslims, and Unitarian Universalism, pardon me, Kalika. There you go.
Sounds Hawaiian.
Yes, it does. Sort of sounds like Melekaliki Maka. You know, that's the thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day.
That's right. Aloha to all of you. Thanks for tuning in.
Indeed.
If you're watching us from Hawaii as well. You know, what did Adam say the day before Christmas?
What was that?
It's Christmas Eve.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our San Francisco history story for today. And as we so often do, we're relying on John Ralston's wonderful book, This Date in San Francisco. A wonderful gift item can be found on Amazon. And this is probably my favorite Christmas story about San Francisco that I'm going to be reading today. Perhaps you've heard of Louisa Tetrazzini?
Love her, yes.
Indeed.
I love her. Beautiful mezzo-soprano.
Indeed. So Luisa Tetrazzini was born in Florence in 1871. Trained by her sister, she made a storybook debut in her hometown in the role of Inez in Les Africaines after the scheduled diva canceled. She toured Europe and South America and was seen in Mexico City by Doc Leahy of San Francisco's Tivoli Opera Company, who arranged for her to make her American debut in San Francisco in 1905. A farewell concert in November 1905 in which she sang arias from several operas was so in demand that a reported 10,000 people, would-be ticket buyers, were turned away. In 1910, she became an unwilling object of a protracted legal battle with New York's Oscar Hammerstein. Now, not the one from Rodgers and Hammerstein?
Yes.
His father, who was an agent. He claimed exclusive rights to her performances. Angered at being treated as a commodity, she vowed to sing in the streets for nothing rather than submit to such conditions. Hammerstein had gotten an attachment against her possessions and an injunction against her leaving New York, but another court allowed her to leave on condition she post $30,000. Tetrazzini arrived in San Francisco on December 9, 1910. She gave several concerts, after which a message in the newspapers appeared on the 21st of December. I will sing for the poor people of San Francisco and for all the people who could not afford to buy tickets for my concerts. I am going to sing at Lotta's Fountain, as in New York I said I was going to do when I heard that I might be prevented from giving concerts here under Mr. Leahy's management. The injunction didn't stand, but I have decided to sing. This will be my Christmas gift to the people of my dear San Francisco. An open-air benefit concert was arranged for December 24th by Lotta's Fountain at Market, Geary, and Kearny. There was no admission charge, but charitable donations were requested. A 40-foot by 40-foot platform backed by sounding board was erected and an orchestra and 100-voice choir. At 6 p.m., the crowd, estimated to be 200,000, the largest in San Francisco history, began arriving from every neighborhood: San Jose, Sacramento, Santa Rosa, and other points. All vehicular traffic was stopped. There was nothing left on Market Street for 2 full blocks but humanity, the Chronicle reported. Up Geary for half a block, out 3rd and Kearny Streets, the crowd reached. The weather could not have been finer, 60 degrees, clear and still.
Amazing.
Isn't it? At 7:50, conductor Paul Steindorf struck up his orchestra. Steindorf raised his baton for the first piece, The Last Rose of Summer. After the applause, Tetrazzini sang the waltz song. Oh, I can't even go to pronounce this in French. I will just do the English. I Want to Live in a Dream, from Romeo and Juliet. The program was concluded with Auld Lang Syne. Tetrazzini urging the immense audience to join her. It was said that her voice carried to 2nd Street farther than the orchestra could be heard. Tetrazzini bowed, smiled, waved, and was presented with poinsettias and retired. The Bulletin reported, not the cathedrals of Paris nor the Holy City itself ever furnished the setting for such a spontaneous, unique, and soul-stirring celebration. Tetrazzini's great spirit, nurtured under Italian skies, leaped to loving recognition of its own under the starry California night. And here, the old world artist sang straight to the hearts of the men and women who have created a new Italy. Never in the history of the city has such a mighty crowd gathered for any event as that of Tetrazzini's promised Christmas gift of an open-air concert for all the people. On Christmas Day, the Examiner quoted Tetrazzini. "This has been the most glorious night of my life," she said. "This I shall remember always as my night of nights. No setting, no audience, no scene has ever so deeply moved me. No other city in the world would this have been possible on Christmas Eve. I shall carry the memory of this with me always." Now, that is considered by many to be the night that San Francisco felt recovered from the great earthquake and fire. If you look at the top of Lotta's Fountain, there is a plaque commemorating it with Madame Tetrazzini's profile, and of course, across the street at the Palace Hotel, they created a dish in her honor that you may have had: chicken Tetrazzini.
Delicious.
Oh, that is my favorite Christmas
Lovely.
story. Mm-hmm.
Lovely story.
Indeed. Do you have another joke for us?
Well, I tell you, why don't you ever see Santa Claus in the hospital?
Why would that be?
Because he's got private elf care.
Now, we have a number of surprises for you today. And we're going to do our first musical number now. Countess, you do the introduction.
Yes. Well, we're going to have Ginger Vitus sing for us today, walking around in women's underwear.
Oh, one of my favorites.
And this spicy redhead is always spitting out facts while she spits out blood. Don't let her lack of poor hygiene fool you. Critics have said her talented oral charms have deep and puffy pockets with all of her swollen-hearted fans internationally by her memorable performances. Coming to us now to sing from her home at the Horny Bull Bareback Bar in Killeen, Texas. Basic things the wife is missing. Didn't ask her permission. Wearing her clothes, her silk pantyhose, walking around in women's underwear. In the store there's a teddy with little straps, just like spaghetti. It holds me so tight, like handcuffs at night, walking around in women's underwear. In the office there's a guy named Melvin. He pretends that I am Murphy Brown. He'll say, are you ready? We'll say, no, man. Let's wait until the wife is out of town. Till she's out of town. Later on, if you wanna, we can dress just like Madonna. Put on some ice shade and join the parade. Walking around in women's underwear if you wanna. Lacy things the wife is missing. I didn't ask her permission. But wearing her clothes, her silk pantyhose, walking around in women's underwear if you wanna. Walking around in women's underwear. Walking around in women's underwear.
Oh my, that was wonderful.
Yes, that was fun. It makes me have a whole new approach to my wardrobe.
Indeed, indeed.
God.
So, did you have something else for us? Was there a joke, perhaps?
Well, what do you call a bunch of chess players bragging about their game in a hotel lobby?
What would that be?
Chestnuts boasting in an open foyer. You know what you get when you eat Christmas decorations.
What would that be?
Tinsel-itis.
Okay, well, let's move on now to our other history for the next upcoming week. We'll start off with the 23rd of December. 1888, artist Vincent van Gogh cuts off his left ear with a razor after an argument with fellow painter Paul Gauguin and sends it to a prostitute for safe keeping.
Is that like cash and carry?
I guess so. 1947, here's something that really affected everything. The transistor is invented at Bell Labs. Could we do this without that? I don't think so. 1968, those of you of a certain age may remember this. Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and William Anders become the first people to orbit the moon. That was on Christmas that they read that famous passage from the Bible. Or was it the night before Christmas? No, I think it was the passage from the Bible, yes. Well,
Genesis.
Oh, it was Genesis. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Moving on to the 24th, 1849. First great fire of early San Francisco starts east side of Portsmouth Square. First of great 7 fires over 2 years. You know San Francisco's been destroyed many times. That's why the Phoenix, the Firebird, is on our city flag and seal.
The Rising Phoenix.
It has nothing to do with 1906, however. Moving on to, this is still, actually this is from the 23rd. We got this one screwed up. Sorry about that. The Montgomery Block opens, where the Transamerica Pyramid stands today. That's a whole other show on that one. 1920, Enrico Caruso gives his final public performance. That was in New York City.
I think we're having an earthquake.
I think so. 1955, author Aldous Huxley takes LSD for the first time.
My.
Where was I? Moving on to Christmas Day, the 25th, 1066, William the Conqueror is crowned King of England in Westminster. 1223, St. Francis of Assisi assembles the first nativity scene. Did you know that?
No, I
I
didn't know
certainly
that.
didn't either, no. 1776, this one's fairly famous. George Washington crosses the Delaware, surprises and defeats 1,400 Hessians. 1818, the first known Christmas carol, Silent Night, Holy Night, is sung in Austria. 1818 as well, Handel's Messiah premieres in the U.S. That was in Boston.
Oh.
1854, Old St. Mary's Cathedral on California and Grant is dedicated. We passed away across the street from that.
I recall.
Maybe on something that sad, we should have a little bit of levity. Do you have another joke for us?
Well, so what do you call a kid that doesn't believe in Santa Claus?
What would that be?
A rebel without a clause. You know what's worse than Rudolph with a runny nose?
What would that be?
Frosty the Snowman with a hot flush.
Well, and speaking of Rudolph, 1939, on the 25th, Montgomery Ward introduces Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Oh, that's quite a story, by the way. Look up the backstory. Incredible. Moving on to the 26th, 1848, first gold seekers arrive in Panama en route to San Francisco. 1913, Ambrose Bierce's last known communication, a letter to his close friend Blanche Partington. Never heard from again. 2004, a 9.3 magnitude earthquake creates a tsunami, causing devastation in Sri Lanka, India, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, and the Maldives, and the edges of the Indian Ocean, killing 230,000 people.
My.
Wow. Moving on to the 27th, former Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto is assassinated by a suicide bomber. The 28th, 1860, Harriet Tubman arrives in Auburn, New York on her last mission to free slaves, having evaded capture for 8 years on the Underground Railroad. 1912, the first municipally owned streetcars take to the streets in San Francisco, California, as the San Francisco Municipal Railway starts operation at Geary Street. Muni,
Yes.
we call it today. 1915, San Francisco City Hall is dedicated by Mayor James Rolfe, Sonny Jim. 1945, Congress officially recognizes the Pledge of Allegiance. Moving on to the 29th, 1170, English Archbishop of Canterbury Thomas Becket is assassinated before the high altar of Canterbury Cathedral by 4 knights. 1835, the Treaty of New Echota is signed between the U.S. government and representatives of a minority, Cherokee political faction to cede all lands of the Cherokee east of the Mississippi to the United States. Well, that's the start of the Trail of Tears.
Well, we know how that ended.
Indeed, genocide. Speaking of which, sorry to end on a bummer on this segment, 1890, the U.S. 7th Cavalry massacre over 200 captive Sioux at Wounded Knee. Well, we have a real special treat today. Countess, why don't you tell our viewers what we've got coming up?
Well, to that bummer, we'll have a Lazarus.
Yes.
So I think it would be good that we have a little puppet show.
Oh, boy.
And this is a little ditty called The Encounter. Enjoy. And please like us and subscribe. Leave your comments below. Is this seat taken?
Yes, what am I, invisible? But the one next to me is free.
I gavolt.
Do you have any idea where I am? I kind of got lost.
Look, lady, you think maybe we should take a fakakta hot air balloon and hover above the field 30 feet? You're so full of hot air.
Can you just tell me where I am? What time is it? I promised to meet my friends at 4 p.m.
I'm sorry to say you've missed them. It's 4:45 now.
What are you, an engineer?
Yes, but how'd you guess that, though?
Well, the information you've given me is technically right, but is absolutely of no use to me, actually no use to anyone.
Oy vey. And you, lady, you must be in management.
Yes, that's absolutely right. How did you know?
Well, you have no idea where you are or where you're headed, and you expect me to help you. You make promises, but you fail to keep them. And you were just where you were before we met. But now I'm to blame for it.
Oh, you're impossible.
Why am I impossible?
Well, I just can't deal with you.
Why can't you?
Well, you're impossible.
Why am I impossible?
I just can't.
Why can't you?
I'm impossible to deal with you. Oh.
Why am I impossible?
I just can't.
Well, that was fun.
That was really different. Did you like that? Let us know. Leave your comments down below. Also, subscribe. And also, don't forget, we appreciate all of our generous donors. There's a little scroll at the bottom there to tell you how to donate to keep us going.
'Tis the season of giving.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for your generosity.
We need to replenish the imperial coffers. Yes, indeed. Well, now let's move on to our births in this holiday season. Don't you feel sorry sometimes for all the Sagittarians and Capricorns out there?
Amazingly.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's begin with the 23rd of December, 1805, Joseph Smith Jr., the American founder of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. 1867, here's a favorite of both the Countess and myself, Madam C.J. Walker.
Yeah, it's great makeup, that.
African-American entrepreneur, the first American self-made female millionaire. Great story. 1933, Akihito, the former emperor of Japan, hats off to emperors, he abdicated in 2019. Oh, here's a favorite of mine, 1943, Harry Shearer.
Oh.
A name that may not be familiar unless you're a fan of The Simpsons. He does a lot of the voices on there. He was with a comedy troupe called The Credibility Gap. Very, very talented individual. Still does a radio program on public radio called Le Show. Great, great satirist. Let's move on now to the 24th, 1916. Noted design engineer Alvin Amster. Did you know that his lighting for the DC-10 won a design award?
Amazing.
Yes, and he loved a good joke.
Well, I have one for you. What do you call a broke Santa Claus?
What's that?
Saint Nicholas. And you know where Santa keeps all his money?
Where's that?
In a snowbank.
Yes, he would have appreciated both of those. Well, let's move on to 1809, Kit Carson, the frontiersman. 1940, Anthony Fauci.
Bravo.
Hats off to Dr. Anthony Fauci, the hero of the COVID pandemic.
He was instrumental back in the epidemic of AIDS as well.
Indeed. A true hero. A true hero. But on the other side of that, 1946, former Senator and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. We're not a fan. Let's move on to Christmas Day now. 1642, Isaac Newton. You know, I understand before he discovered gravity, everything just floated around. Amazing. 1821, Clara Barton, the founder of the American Red Cross. 1887, Conrad Hilton, Hilton Hotels. 1907, Cab Calloway, Minnie the Moocher, what a great band leader he was. 1918, Anwar Sadat, the third president of Egypt. 1924, Rod Serling, The Twilight Zone and Night Gallery, presented for your approval. 1949, we don't want to age her that much. Sissy Spacek, a wonderful actor. 1954, one of my favorite singers, Annie Lennox, born on Christmas Day. 1954, El Chapo, the Mexican drug lord and escape artist.
My.
1971, Justin Trudeau, the 23rd Prime Minister of Canada, and I would say the world's sexiest politician.
He's yummy.
Yes, he is. Let's move on now to the 26th, 1837, George Dewey, American admiral, naval hero of the Battle of Manila Bay, the namesake of the Dewey Monument in the middle of Union Square. 1891, American author Henry Miller. 1893, Chairman Mao. 1956, here's a real favorite, David Sedaris.
Oh.
What a great humorist
bravo.
he is, yes indeed. 1986, Archduke Dave Thomas. Now, not to be confused with Dave Thomas, the noted anthropologist, nor Dave Thomas, the owner of Wendy's, nor Dave Thomas from SCTV. No, this is the Archduke Dave Thomas of Tombstone. Let's move on now to the 27th, 1822. Louis Pasteur invented pasteurization. 1953, noted San Francisco historian and drag performer Ricky Shelton. I've heard he's wonderful.
I wonder.
Let's move on now to the 28th, 1856. Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States. 1882, Lily Elbe, Danish transgender woman, former painter, and first identifiable recipient of sex reassignment surgery. Read her autobiography, Man into Woman. 1922, Stan Lee, American comic book artist and creator of the Avengers, Spider-Man, The Incredible Hulk. Don't get him mad. 1941, Don Francisco, Spanish variety host of Sábado Gigante. Great show.
Ole.
Ole. Let's move on to the 29th, 1917, Tom Bradley, former mayor of Los Angeles. He was the mayor of Los Angeles for 20 years.
My, yes.
Wow. 1921, Robert C. Baker, American inventor and professor, invented the chicken nugget.
And what would the world be without it?
Indeed.
Hearts
I didn't win
is
the Nobel
hearts.
Prize for that. And our last birthday, 1979, Ariel Schrag, American cartoonist, born in Berkeley. She also worked on the series The L Word. Well, I understand we have another song, Countess.
Yes, we're going to bring back Ginger. And here Ginger is to sing River by Joni Mitchell.
Oh, boy.
It's coming on Christmas, cutting down trees. They're putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. But it don't snow here, it stays pretty green. I'm gonna make a lot of money, I'm gonna quit this crazy scene. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I wish I had a river so long I would teach my feet to fly. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I made my baby cry. He tried hard to help me, you know, he put me at ease. And he loved me so naughty, made me weak in the knees. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I'm so hard to handle, I'm selfish and I'm sad. Now I'm gone and lost the best baby that I ever had. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I wish I had a river so long I would teach my feet to fly. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I made my baby say goodbye. Ooh, it's coming on Christmas. They're cutting down trees. They're putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Ooh.
Well, that was fun.
Yes, wasn't it?
Now, unfortunately, we have to go into something a little more somber now because life goes on, but so does death. So
Well, that was the perfect song for leading into it.
Indeed. So let's now
Very sobering.
do our deaths for today, starting with the 23rd. 1948, Hideki Tojo, the Japanese Prime Minister during World War II. Moving on to the 24th, John Muir, the Scottish naturalist and discoverer of the glacier in the High Sierras. 1972, Charles Atlas. Don't kick sand in his face, there'll be consequences. 1984, Peter Lawford, the actor, but also a Kennedy by marriage. 1993, Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. Must have worked. He lived to be 95. 2008, Harold Pinter, the British playwright. Now moving on to the 25th. 1957, Frederick Law Olmsted Jr., U.S. landscape architect. He was hired to create Golden Gate Park, but didn't. But he was also the designer of Central Park in New York.
Yes.
1983, the Spanish painter and sculptor Jean Moreau. 1995, Dean Martin, the crooner. Let's move on now to the 26th. 1972, 33rd U.S. President Harry S. Truman. Do you know what S stood for?
Sherman.
S. Nothing else but that.
Oh.
It was just an initial. 2002, Herb Ritz, the fashion photographer extraordinaire.
Did he do the cracker?
I don't think so. It's
No.
spelled differently.
Okay.
Yes. No, now there's another story. Oh well. 2006, the 38th U.S. President, Gerald Ford. Moving on to the 27th, 1923, Gustav Eiffel, the designer of the Eiffel Tower. 1974, this was a sort of interesting one. I did not know this. Amy Vanderbilt, the American Authority on Etiquette, dies of multiple fractures to the skull at 66. She fell or jumped from a second floor window. What's the etiquette around that? I'm not sure. Well, anyway.
Time.
Yes. 2007, Benazir Bhutto, the 12th Prime Minister of Pakistan, first female leader of a Muslim nation. She's assassinated. 2011, American abstract expressionist Helen Frankenthaler. 2012, Norman Schwarzkopf, U.S. General, Stormin' Norman. Let's now move on to the 28th. And this is worth noting. This is 1872. James Van Ness, mayor of San Francisco. 1872. There is a story that goes around, you've certainly heard it, so have we, that Van Ness Avenue is named in his honor, which it is. But it was because of his supposedly pivotal assistance in stopping the fire in 1906, where the mayor at the time, Schmitz, phoned up Van Ness to get his advice on how to stop the fire. Well, it must have been a long distance call because he'd been dead since 1872. If anybody ever tells you that story, tell them it's a fake story. Better yet, have them talk to us. We get our stories right, don't we?
Well, you know what we say.
Yes. We don't write history. History writes itself. Get your facts right. Moving on. 1984, the film director Sam Peckinpah. 1988, the film director Hal Ashby. 2004, Susan Sontag, the great writer. Moving on to the 29th, 1890, Bigfoot. Sioux Indian chief dies at Wounded Knee. And 1916, Rasputin, the Russian monk, is assassinated by conservative Russian aristocrats. It took a lot of attempts to get that job done, too. Quite a story.
Indeed. Well, naughty or nice, the most disappointing thing for a lover on Christmas morning, speaking of disappointments, is when they get a sweater and they were hoping for a screamer or a moaner. Now, as Mae West used to say, I call this leg Thanksgiving and this leg Christmas. So come visit me between the holidays.
Well, on that note, as you know, we were both working as tour guides before the pandemic hit, and we will be working again. So don't forget to check sftimemachine.com to learn more about not just history, but the tours that we do. But we also worked as a bus tour guide, and we would always do a special nighttime holiday tour, and would always end it with a traditional reading of A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement Clark Moore. Ready? 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the newly fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment he must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called out their names. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. The top of the porch to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he'd flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke had encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed, like a bowl full of jelly. He was a chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink in his eye and a twist in his head soon gave me to know that I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. I'm verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. That always gets to me, Countess.
Well, happy holidays
Happy
to all of you,
holidays.
and thank you for watching.
And we have one more musical number, don't we?
Yes, I think we're going to have Ginger take us out.
Oh,
What are
lovely.
you doing on New Year's Eve?
Staying at home. What we've been doing for the last 7 months? No, 9 months.
I've
9
lost
months.
track.
Yes, indeed.
Unless it's recycling, I can't keep track of the days. Yes.
Well,
shall we have Ginger take us out?
indeed we should.
Thank you all for watching. Be safe out there. And are we ready for Ginger?
Well, just a couple of reminders
Yes.
before we go out. Don't forget, we do accept tips. Here's where you can do that. Patreon, Venmo, PayPal. We appreciate all of our generous donors. So, before we get to Ginger, before we see you again, stay safe, stay inside, stay healthy.
And look forward to 2021.
If you do go outside, wear a mask. Don't take any unproven cures. Basically, don't do anything that Dr. Fauci doesn't endorse. He knows what he's talking about. So until we see you again, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, and a gracious good day.
Au revoir. Thank you for watching. Ginger. Maybe it's much too early in the game, but I thought I'd ask you just the same. What are you doing New Year's Eve? Wonder whose arms will hold you good and tight when exactly it's 12 o'clock at night. Welcoming in the new year, New Year's Eve. Maybe I'm crazy to suppose, if ever I be the one you chose, after all the 1,000 invitations you received. Well, but in my case, I stand one little chance. Here comes the jackpot question in advance. What are you doing New Year's Eve? But in case I stand one little chance, here comes the jackpot question in advance. What are you doing New Year's Eve? What are you doing